Hi guys, it's Deni here. We all know that there are single-player and multiplayer games. There have always been more single-player games, but as the internet has developed, multiplayer games have become more and more popular. This is mostly due to the fact that online games bring much more revenue than single-player games. But if you want to feel like a real superhero and experience incredible events that would never happen in real life, the single-player games just the best way to do this. So today we are going to look at 12 great games that you can play on your own. But before we begin, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Okay, let's get started. Horror is almost the most common genre for single-player games. So today we will start with the anime-style horror game Signalis. He will play as an android girl named Elster. She wakes up in a barrow chamber on a ship with something horrible happening. She soon realizes that the spaceship has crashed on a snow-covered planet that is home to an abandoned human re-education labor camp. From then on, she will try to find the missing crew members, retrieve her memories, and unravel the mysteries of the planet she's landed on. The gameplay here consists of solving puzzles, exploring locations, and fighting enemies. As you explore your surroundings, you will find some notes that will help you understand the reason for the disaster that occurred here. Then making lists, I don't always add just new games. So now we will look at Divinity original sin, but not the second part, which many people know about. Today we are going to look at the first game, which isn't that popular, but it is great nonetheless. It is a role-playing game set in the fantasy world of Rivellon. You will find yourself here right on the eve of a big disaster that threatens the well-being of an entire civilization. You will have the opportunity to take control of two main characters at once. After you customize them, you will fight in turn-based battles. The key aspects here are flanking attacks, backstabbing, using spells and other features of turn-based gameplay. Money. And now we have a multi-level horror action RPG Dark Deception. You will need to find the pieces of a big puzzle, which are hidden on each floor of a huge building, and after that you need to put the whole puzzle together and get out of this endless maze trap. However, this is greatly complicated by the terrifying creatures that will follow you everywhere you go. You will need to carefully examine all the rooms, walls and furniture so as not to miss the hidden caches containing the puzzle you need. And by the way, monsters aren't the only problem here. The mazes themselves are full of traps and other dangerous things, so be careful, it is not safe here. Another turn-based strategy game that you can spend your time well in Endless Space 2. Here we will be transported to a distant and uncharted space. There we will have to join one of the factions that we will then lead and begin to explore the space horizons, conquer star systems and search for powerful artifacts. Here we'll be constructing new buildings, hiring soldiers, equipping warships, paving trade routes, distributing resources between institutions. And that's just a small part of what you will have to do here. Now we take a look at a game that will appeal to fans of both single-player and multiplayer games. BATTLETECH is a sci-fi style strategy game that gives you the opportunity to take part in dangerous yet very spectacular robots battles. The story is set in 3025 and the galaxy is engaged in a cycle of perpetual war. You will take command of a squad of mechs and try to survive in a brutal brutal interstellar civil war. The main feature of this game is the creation of a robot in makeshift conditions. To do this, you will need to collect various resources, and once you have gathered enough, you'll be given a detailed constructor to build your robot. You can completely customize it, starting with the color and material of the hull on the chest, and ending with the size of the cannons on its shoulders. If you want some more game where you can watch robots fight, you should definitely try TitanFall 2. It is a shooter with a view from the cockpit of a combat robot, and not only. The storyline tells us about a distant future world that is split due to the confrontation between the People's Militia and the IMC Corporation, which seeks to destroy the rebels and the frontier systems to take other their resources. The main character he is Jack Cooper, a soldier who longs to become the pilot of Titan, an intelligent combat robot. Anyway, yes, you won't always have to fight reading a robot here. The pilot has his own arsenal of abilities that allow you to jump and run on steep walls. Battles mostly take place in the Titan's cockpit, but you'll be exploring locations and completing story missions standing on your own feet. The Batman Arkham series has been so successful that it took superhero games to a whole new level at one time. And today we are taking a look at the final game in the series, namely Batman Arkham Knight. The developers took the best from the previous games, outdid themselves and made a practically perfect single-player game. The story is full of unexpected turns, and the character's story really makes you feel sorry for them. The city became bigger and livelier, the Batmobile finally appeared, the number of combo tricks grew dramatically, and the list of technological tricks increased so much that every fight with armed bandits could be turned into a real entertaining movie. Oh, and of course, the graphics are also worth mentioning, even 8 years later. Yes, this game came out 8 years ago. Even 8 years later, it still looks great. What do you think of whenever you look at ninja games? I bet you are thinking of some action or stealth games? Well, not this time. Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun is a strategy ninja game, and it is very cool, I would say. The game is set in 1615 and Edo-era Japan, when the new Shogun comes to power, but some people want to overthrow him, so he hires fire warriors to fight against rebels. So it is then that you will control. It must be said that the warriors are quite different from each other and often have different opinions on how to complete combat missions. There are dozens of options for each task. Direct combat, which Samurai Mugen would prefer, traps that Yuki would choose, masterful seduction, which Aiko, the master of disguise, likes, and so on. Anyway, there really is a lot to see here. If you like anything to do with space, I have a very special game for you called SpaceEngine. It is literally a space simulator that replicates the entire universe on a 1-to-1 scale. You can fly around the Earth and visit Mars, go to the center of the black hole and look at the stars up close. In fact, that's the gameplay. You can explore space as much as you want, visit every planet, asteroids and nebula. The developers used real data from space probes to create many of the solar system bodies, and the highly detailed graphics allow you to examine all of them in detail. Next up we have Madness Project Nexus. This is an action game that combines beat-em-up, run-and-gun and even platforming elements. There are several levels and you will need to run and fight with your enemies in melee and range combat. The game takes place in a horrible blood and brutality world where almost everybody is mad and trying to kill each other. You need to put the end to this madness, and to do that you will have to kill a lot of enemies. Anyway, if you want something dynamic, it is a good option. Outlast 2 is a rather frightening game that, nevertheless, can also be called a good single-player game. It is a rather unusual horror game, since the main character has no weapons, but he can quickly run and crawl through even the narrowest gaps. Also, he has a camera that captures all the horror that is happening to him. As for the story, it all starts with a couple of curious cameramen, who are also spouses, arriving in a village where a pregnant woman has recently been murdered, and they intend to investigate the case, but the local cultists get in their way, as they make chaos, kidnap the protagonist's wife, and try to kill him. It is up to you to figure out what the hell is going on here, escape from these monsters, find your wife and get out of this horrible place. The last game on today's list is Wasteland 3. It is an RPG that takes us to the state of Colorado, a time of nuclear winter, and you have come there with an important purpose to create a new society on the ruins of the old one. You will have to complete different quests and fight against marauders, bandits and other enemies. The quests here are not straightforward, and it is only your actions that determine how the story develops. You can move around the locations, attack other characters, rob different, defend others and even join certain factions. Gradually you will collect resources and can even assemble your own squad of several rangers and become a real menace of these lands. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found something interesting, and if so, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's been Deni, see ya guys soon.